Good evening. I will call the Pittsylvania County Board of Supervisors business meeting for Tuesday, February the 18th, 2020 at 7 p.m. Pittsylvania County General District Courtroom, Edwin R. Shills, Courthouse Edition, 11 Bank Street, Chatham, Virginia, to order. And before we do roll call, Madam, I want to recognize everyone and tell them how much we appreciate you being here tonight. But we have one of our past colleagues and supervisor members, Mr. Jerry Hagerman, in attendance tonight with his lovely bride. Glad to see you here, Jerry. We miss you, but hope you're enjoying the fishing. So, roll call.
Mr. Davis.
Present.
Mr. Dudley.
Present.
Mr. Farmer.
Here.
Mr. Ingram.
Present.
Dr. Miller.
Yes.
Mr. Scarce.
Here.
Mr. Warren.
Here. I would ask that you would observe a moment of silence with us, please. Thank you. Would you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Are there items to be added to the agenda?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I'd like to make a motion that we remove item 8A, presentation, and we remove this and make it to our March agenda, please.
Second.
Got a motion by Mr. Farmer, seconded by Mr. Scarce, to hold over presentation under option 8A. Any discussion on the motion? If not, please cast your votes. All votes have been cast. Please record the vote. Motion carries unanimously. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda?
I make a motion to approve the agenda, Mr. Chairman.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Davis, seconded by Mr. Ingram. Is there any discussion on the motion? Please cast your votes. Please record the vote as they have all been cast. Motion carries unanimously. We're down to consent agenda. Board's pleasure.
Chairman, I make motion we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Scarce, seconded by Mr. Davis. Is there any discussion on the motion? If not, please cast your votes. Please record the vote as they've all been cast. Motion carries unanimously. We're down to 8B, presentation of Dr. Miller Planning Commission Service Appreciation Presentation. I'd ask that the board meet me down front, and Mr. Davis will be reading the presentation.
I've been selected to do this for Dr. Miller since I got an opportunity to serve with him for 2 years on the Planning Commission board. And I will say this, I've sat beside of him and I've watched him, and what doesn't get noticed and what you don't notice and what I've noticed on quite often occasions is this, and this is not in the itinerant here, but he has prayed over many decisions he has made. I've heard him pray. I've heard him bow his head before tough decisions to make. And so he's always strived to put God first and call on him in making decisions for this county, always. I've never seen him veer from that, and so it's a pleasure to be able to do this. Pittsylvania County Board of Supervisors Resolution 2020-02-03. This is a resolution of appreciation to Dr. Charles H. Miller, Jr. Whereas at the business meeting of Pittsylvania County Board of Supervisors, the board held on Tuesday, February the 18th, 2020, in the General District Courtroom of the Edwin R. Shields Courthouse Edition, the following resolution was presented and adopted. Whereas Dr. Charles H. Miller, Jr. spent 23 years serving as the Bannister District Representative on the Planning Commission, and whereas he has given freely of his time, knowledge, and experience to fulfill the duties of the position, and whereas Dr. Miller has strived diligently to promote the health, safety, and general welfare of all county citizens. Now be it resolved that the board expresses its sincere appreciation to Dr. Miller for the noble dedication of his time towards the development of the county, and be it further resolved that a certified copy of this resolution be presented to Dr. Miller on behalf of the board. Given under my hand this 18th day of February, 2020, Mr. Robert D. Warren, W. Pardon me, Mr. David Smitherman, the clerk. Dr. Miller, congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
I'll take a picture.
I would like to say thank you all very much for this honor. And just to make it very quick, my father, Bishop Charles H. Miller Sr., served on the Planning Commission before me, and after his passing, I was given the opportunity to work. I appreciate that, and now that I'm not on the board any longer, my daughter, Colette Henderson, has taken it up, and I think she's going to do a good job. So I want to say again to our chairman and to the other members of this body, thank you all very much, and thank you all.
We're down to hearing of the citizens. Each person addressing the board under hearing of the citizens shall be a resident or landowner of the county, or the registered agent of such resident or landowner. Each person shall step up, give his or her name and district in an audible tone of voice for the record. Unless further time is granted by the chairman, shall limit his or her address to 3 minutes. No person shall be permitted to address the board more than once during hearing of the citizens. All remarks shall be addressed to the board as a body and not to any individual member thereof. Hearing of the citizens shall last for a maximum of 45 minutes. Any individual that is signed up to speak during said section who does not get the opportunity to do so because of the aforementioned time limit shall be given speaking priority at the next board meeting. Absent chairman's approval, no person shall be able to speak who is not signed up. Ms. McCluster.
The first citizen we have signed up to speak is Gary Long.
Mr. Chairman, board members, my name is Gary Long. I live in the Mount Hermon district. It's a pleasure to be here tonight. The poet and social critic T.S. Eliot very well described our current situation in Richmond by saying, quote, "The tendency of liberals is to create bodies of men and women of all classes, detached from tradition, alienated from religion, and susceptible to mass suggestion, mob rule. And the mob will be no less a mob if it's well-fed, well-clothed, well-housed, and well-disciplined. End quote. Whereas, Title 44, Section 146.13 of the Code of Virginia has established the Commonwealth of Virginia Emergency Services and Disaster Law of 2000. Whereas, the findings listed under this title, 146.14, include, quote, because of the ever-present possibility of the occurrence of disasters of unprecedented size and destructiveness resulting from enemy attack, sabotage, or other hostile action, resource shortage, from fire, flood, earthquake, or other natural causes, and in order to assure that the preparations of the Commonwealth and its political subdivisions will be adequate to deal with such emergencies and generally to provide for the common defense and to protect the public peace, health, and safety, and to preserve the lives and property and economic well-being of the people of the Commonwealth. It is hereby found and declared to be necessary to be the purpose of this chapter. Whereas, additional authority for the establishment of a community security group is found at Article 1, Virginia Bill of Rights, Section 13, that a well-regulated militia composed of the body of the people, trained to arms, is the proper, natural, and safe defense of a free nation or a free state. Therefore, be it resolved by the Pittsylvania County Board of Supervisors that in accordance with the above, the Community Security Group of Pittsylvania County, Virginia, be established within Pittsylvania County Department of Emergency Management in coordination with the Sheriff's Department, with equipment, training, and duties to be established by joint directives from the Director of Emergency Management, the County Sheriff, and an executive committee established by the Pittsylvania County Board of Supervisors. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, Ms. McCluskey?
We have Wayne Robertson signed up to speak.
My name is Wayne Robertson. Excuse me. I live in Mr. Warren's district, the Chatham Blair's district, and I'd like to start by saying that I really appreciate what Mr. Miller did in voting against the trash tax year before last. I have spoken to you all about the trash tax before, and I'm still against it. There are two members of the Board of Supervisors who voted for it who are not here tonight. There are two more of you. I suspect if you'd had good opposition last fall, you just might not be here either. People do not like your trash tax. Campbell County, according to their website, has a real estate tax rate of 52 cents per $100 of assessed value. Bedford County, 50 cents. Henry County, 55.5 cents. Franklin County, 61 cents. Halifax County, 50 cents. Pittsylvania County, 62%. If all these other counties with a lower tax assessment, tax rate can make it without a trash tax, you can do the same thing. You can make your budget work without the trash tax. Now is the time for you to get rid of the trash tax. Don't just cut it, but completely cut it out. Here's what you're doing. You're spending too much money. You need to cut your budget. If you cut your budget, every department, by 5%, there's not one department that would go out of existence. They would all have to learn how to deal with the money that they have, just like the citizens of Pittsylvania County. There's another thing that I'm concerned about along these lines too, is that according to a real estate lawyer, he says that you have a 120% assessment. That is, if a piece of property would sell on the open market for $100,000, you are taxing it as if it were $120,000. You need to start looking at what you're doing. Start by cutting the trash tax, not just cut it, but completely cut it out. Look at what you're doing here. You're spending too much money. Stop it.
Ms. McCluster, who's next?
We have Joshua Jennings.
Good evening, Board. First, I'd like to thank all of the members of the board who took the time to contact our Pons Asinorum in Richmond. Those fellas literally are upending Virginia and trying to turn it into some other state that it isn't ever going to be. Secondly, I want to remind everybody on the board that, yes, we have pushed back HB 961. However, all it's going to take is one strange event, or horrid event is probably a better term for it, and we're going to end up with another special session just like they did in July. This time, though, they'll have full control of 3 houses. So it's going to throw us right back into dealing with bills like HB 961 or God knows what else as far as the assault weapons bans or things of that nature. That being the case, we have approximately a year or less if that special situation occurs to prepare and designate a county-led militia of some sort. Not asking for money, what I would suggest is volunteer organization, just basically lay a framework, something that basically a person's going to be in charge of and has accountability to. You really don't want a situation where you have private militias that are operating without oversight, and this is the case at current. I'm sure you've seen all of the news releases, the press coverage. They are occurring, they are forming. I'm not against them, but it would be much better to have somebody with an even keel about them and a knowledge of the law in order to administer that sort of situation. Thank you for, again, standing up for us and contacting Richmond, and appreciate y'all's time this evening.
Thank you. Ms. McCluster?
That's all.
That's it? Okay. We're down to public hearings, rezoning public hearings pursuant to Article 5, Division 6 of the Pittsylvania County Zoning Ordinance. The Board of Supervisors have been empowered to hear and decide specific zoning issues and zoning map changes in support of said ordinance. In accomplishing this important task, the board is responsible for promoting the health, safety, and general public welfare of the citizens of Pittsylvania County. The board may ensure that all of its decisions and regulations be directed to these goals and that each be consistent with the environment, the comprehensive plan, and in the best interest of Pittsylvania County, its citizens, and its prosperity. Mr. Hicks is doing this tonight.
Sir, all of my staff has the flu, so I'm going to try and do my best. Greg Sides impersonation. First case is case R-20-001 Susie Q, etc. LLC has petitioned to rezone 18.14 acres located off McDaniel Road and Riceville Road in the Bannister Election District from R1 Residential Suburban Subdivision to District A1 Agricultural District, and the proposed use would be ag for horses. The Planning Commission recommended by unanimous vote with no opposition that the petitioner's request be granted. Once the property is rezoned to A1, all uses listed under section 35-178 are permitted. Staff summary is enclosed in the board packet, and Mr. Chairman, I believe Ms. Susan Brown is here to for the petition, and we had no one else sign up.
Okay, I'm going to open the public hearing at 7:19. And do you wish to speak? Does she wish to speak?
I don't have anything else.
Okay. I'll close the public hearing then at 7:20. What's the board's pleasure?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
in case R-20-001 2024-001. I'd move to approve this request.
Okay, got a motion made by Dr. Miller. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion seconded by Mr. Dudley. Please cast your votes. All votes have been cast. Please record the vote. Motion carries unanimously. The property's been rezoned. Thank you. We're down to case 2, Mr. Hicks.
Okay, the next case, R-20-002, Jeffrey Compton has petitioned to rezone a total of 56.42 acres located on Compton Road in the Bannister Election District from M1 Industrial District Light Industry to M2 Industrial District Heavy Industry for future development, which will be a concrete plant. The properties are located in the enterprise zone. The Planning Commission recommended by unanimous vote with opposition that the petitioner's request be granted. Once the properties are rezoned to M2, all uses listed under section 35-402 are a permitted use. The staff summary is enclosed in the board packet, and Mr. Chairman, Mr. Jeffrey Compton is here too, on behalf of the property owners. And we also had Mr. Zachary Compton sign up to speak also, so I don't know.
Okay, I'm gonna open the public hearing at 7:22. Mr. Compton here.
Good evening. I'm here if you have any questions. Do you have any questions?
Anybody got any questions?
No, sir. Good.
Okay.
I just got a statement.
Yes, sir.
On this particular, I'm not making any decisions for the doctor on the Bannister District area, but knowing this gentleman as I do, he's been a good businessman, and I do believe what he's got that's coming down the road is going to create jobs for the county, and I think it's going to help 269-29 area. So I think, but I know him personally, and he's a good businessman. Thank you.
Excuse me, sir, just out of curiosity,
Regulations,
for my own information, right there at the Blair's interchange, where the cement mixers are, is that the area where you are?
Yes, sir.
Okay, is that your company?
No, the concrete company is across the street. It's about 200 yards. They're just expanding. The reason they're expanding is because government regulations, they can't get a lot of contracts unless they have 2 plants. So they're expanding to have 2 plants rather than 1.
Okay. Yeah.
Anybody else?
Any other questions from the board?
Thank you.
Okay.
Anyone else sign up? Okay, I'm gonna close the public hearing at 7:24. Board's pleasure.
All right, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir, Dr. Miller.
All right, in case R-20-002, again, I would like to recommend approval of this request.
Second.
Motion made by Dr. Miller, seconded by Mr. Davis. Mr. Hicks, and Mr. Hunt, I'm gonna open this up for discussion. Any discussion from the board?
No, sir.
I just have one question and comment, Mr. Hicks. I'm in support of Mr. Compton, what he's trying to do, and happy you're in the enterprise fund, so hopefully that'll help you some too. So this comment and question is not necessarily in relationship to what you're gonna do. I'm gonna vote to support you tonight. But I noticed that the Deputy Director of Community Development says that the department has waived the requirement of a site development plan for this rezoning. You know, I'm not sure I agree with that being a solid practice as we go forward. I think we ought to have those in place to be sure that we're crossing the Ts and dotting the Is in the future. So from my standpoint, I would prefer the department not be too generous in waiving those. Or at
Well, I
least be
think
able-
that was a request.
Or at
by
least be able
economic.
to come back when they come and explain to us in detail why
Yeah.
this is a good idea to wait at this time.
Okay, Mr. Hunt may have some additional information.
I fully agree with you, especially when you're upzoning to industrial or intense usage. I've championed for that since I've been here. We on the executive team have a list of issues for the new community development director to address, and that's on our list. I believe we owe it to our citizens in the future for upzonings to require a plan, a site plan. It's gonna be more expensive for the developer. It will allow you to have greater discussion about impacts to surrounding. He does have a concept plan in here. It's not as.
Right.
It's not as aggressive as the site plan, so he has done something, but I fully agree with you. It's on our list.
Well, if we had opposition, in fairness, I would have had real questions, Mr. Compton, but you didn't have any. I like what you're doing out there. I've ridden out there on the property. I think it's a good use of this piece of property. So I'm really asking these questions for future opportunities, but I just think we owe it to our citizens to be sure that we're being detailed. Okay, thank you.
We're gonna look at a lot of things in that department.
Sir?
I said, we're gonna look at a lot of things in that department.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you, Rich.
We got a motion and a second, and please cast your votes. All votes have been cast. Please record the vote. Property's rezoned, and thank you for investing in the county and expanding this company. We appreciate it very much.
Thank you, sir.
All right. We're going to move to B, other public hearings. Each person addressing the board under a public hearing shall step up, give his or her name and district, and/or her place of residency for non-county citizens, and an audible tone of voice for the record. And unless further time is granted by the chairman, shall limit her address to 3 minutes. Speaker for a group shall be limited to 10 minutes. Speakers shall conclude their remarks at that time, unless the consent of the board is affirmatively given to extend the speaker allotted time. Absent chairman's approval, no person shall be able to speak who is not signed up. Item 1 is public hearing SR RIFRA changes. Mr. Smitherman.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As the board is aware, we have a joint economic development partnership currently on the books with HURT, Danville, and Alta Vista. Alta Vista has, as of about less than a year ago, voluntarily removed itself from that body. Because this is a portion of the Pittsylvania County Code as well as Danville's and HURT's, each jurisdiction has to revise their code to represent the new cost and revenue sharing arrangement. It has been mutually agreed among all jurisdictions that the new arrangement be 65% Pittsylvania County, 35% or 61% Pittsylvania County, 35% Danville, and 4% HURT. You have a red line copy of the necessary changes in the code that will need to be made to effectuate this change. And Mr. Chairman, you can open the public hearing if you'd like at this time.
I'll open the public hearing at 7:28.
No one has signed up, sir.
I'll close it at 7:28. Board's pleasure.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve the revised SR RIFA cost revenue percentage associated with SR RIFA bylaws revisions and associated county ordinance revisions as presented.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Farmer, seconded by Dr. Miller. Is there any discussion on the motion? If not, please cast your votes. All votes have been cast. Please record the vote. Motion carries unanimously. Item 2, public hearing, tax due date, license fees, and solid waste disposable fee due date changes. Mr. Hunt.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. at a recent legislative committee and work session, the board unanimously recommended that staff advertise for potential action tonight. The following potential revisions to Pittsylvania County Code. Those are section PCC, section 612, relating to changing the annual tax due date in the county from June 20th and December 20th to June 10th and December 10th, per Mr. Shorter's request. Also, changes to Pittsylvania County Code sections 9-48, 9-49, 9-53, 9-54, and 9-55, and 1715, really relating to changes to licensing fees and potential due dates for vehicle, trailer, and semi-trailer. All it's doing is allowing the Pittsylvania County Code to be updated to meet Virginia Code standards and allow the board to set those license fees during their annual budget public hearing. These issues have been vetted by staff, by Mr. Shorter, and by yourself in 2 previous meetings, and no one has signed up for this public hearing.
Okay, I will open the public hearing at 7:31 and close the public hearing at 7:31. Any pleasure of the board?
Chairman, I make a motion to adopt the proposed revisions to Pennsylvania County Code, Chapters 6, 9, and 17 as presented.
Motion made by Mr. Scarce,
Second.
second by Mr. Davis. Any discussion on the motion? Okay, please cast your votes. All votes have been cast. Please record the vote. Motion carries unanimously. Public hearing, solid waste fine escalation system. Mr. Hicks.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, back when you adopted the solid waste fee, you made some amendments to Chapter 17, and you added a $50 civil penalty for certain violations of the code. And what we have experienced in the last year is some people see that $50 citation as just the cost of doing business, like scavengers and people that aren't supposed to be disposing of construction items. What we proposed to you at your last meeting was that if a second violation, third or fourth or fifth violation occurred during a calendar year, that fee would change. The second violation in a 12-month period, instead of $50 would be $100. A third violation within a 12-month period would be $200. The fourth violation would be $500, and the fifth violation would be $1,000. So the staff is recommending those changes in the code, and we had one person sign up this evening, and that's Joshua Jenkins.
Okay,
Yeah,
I'm
Jenkins,
gonna
I'm sorry.
open the public hearing at 7:34.
Good evening, Board, again.
Good evening.
I'm Joshua Jennings. I live in Blair's district, but I operate a business in the Tunstall district. I'm opposed to any fees, any fines, any taxes with regards to well, just in general, but especially the garbage fees. I mean, we get to watch the trash Nazi across the street when we're not busy at the store, and literally we counted on our hand 4 times in 4 hours that he gets up. It's an unnecessary expense. It's a harassment to the good citizens that have to unload their own garbage. And then on top of that, when they show up and they can't throw whatever it is that they've produced on their Pittsylvania County property into the bin, we get to hear about it. Because oftentimes they'll stop over at the store after they've gotten upset just to calm down, to have a friendly face to talk to. Everybody does not like the garbage fee, flat out. You know, when y'all added that tax, I know some of you weren't responsible, some of you were, and I know you're trying to fix another problem, but let's just be honest, it's garbage. If I pay my $120 a year to it, y'all can take whatever the frick I want to put in there. And that's about the way most county residents are going to say, except they're going to be a little more abrasive around the edges when they tell y'all that. So I'm in opposition of all fees, fines, taxes, and such related to garbage. Thank y'all. Y'all have a nice evening.
Anyone sign it? Okay.
That's it.
I'll close the public hearing at 7:35. Board's pleasure.
Chairman, I make a motion that we approve the proposed revisions to Pittsylvania County Code 17-21 Echo as presented.
Got a motion by Mr. Scarce, do I have a second?
Second?
Second by Mr. Davis. Any discussion on the motion? Please cast your votes. Okay, all votes have been cast. Please record a vote. Motion carries on a 6-1. We're down to public hearing, Silver Creek through truck restrictions.
Yes, I'll handle this, although Mr. Scarce, you might want to jump in here. Mr. Scarce has requested the county hold a public hearing for potential no-through truck restrictions on Silver Creek Road. In your agenda, there's a resolution number 2020-0202, which supports a potential no-through truck restriction on Silver Creek Road. This public hearing was legally advertised in the Chatham Star Tribune on February 5th, 2020 and February 12th, 2020. Just to remind everybody, this public hearing does not make this a no-through truck restrictions. This, if the board supports it, we would just be adopting a resolution requiring or asking VDOT to look into the potential of creating a no-through restrictions on this Silver Creek Road. Mr. Chairman, we have one citizen who signed up, and that's Ms. Stephanie Atkins.
Okay, I'm gonna open the public hearing at 7:37. Yes, ma'am, Ms. Atkins.
Hi, I'm Stephanie Atkins, and I live on Silver Creek, and I live in the Westover District. If I may, I'm speaking for a group of individuals that live on Silver Creek. I have 19 signatures, so if I could go over the 3 minutes.
If you give to Mr. Hunt,
Sure.
the 17, 19 names, whatever you have, dear.
Sir, all these signatures, these are the addresses, mobile numbers. You got this. Thank you. Okay, can I let y'all look at these pictures?
Sure, give them to me, I'll
Give me
distribute.
Thank you so much, and if you'll note number 1, please. It's the only one that's numbered. Like I said, we live on Silver Creek, and we are cut through from Mount Cross to 58. We are an extremely narrow road. If you go up and down our road and it's two small, normal-sized vehicles, you're okay. You get an SUV and another car, somebody's going to have to go off the road. When the dump trucks enter, we basically have to get to the side of the road. It's a small road, and you'll see that we have 19 people, and I didn't get to go to all the houses. Well, a lot of the houses when 2 people weren't home. Every person that answered their door signed it. And the only road that coincides with ours is Mill Creek, and they only went as far as probably less than a mile, and all those people signed it because they travel Silver Creek. And if you're looking at those pictures, you'll see what happens when the dump trucks come down the road. And if you note number 1, it's a hill. Comes over the hill, loses control, and goes to the other side of the road, and my daughter is coming at the exact same time. And she was almost killed. She was trapped for over an hour. They had to use the jaws of life to get her out, and she is permanently maimed. She is unfortunately in college going to be a forest ranger. And this basically has changed her from being a forest ranger to someone who does paperwork in the forestry department. She will not be able to handle the intense hiking, the intense hunting, tracking people, saving people, all that's done. She's 20 years old. Because of a person who drove a truck, not only recklessly in a road that's not fit for trucks, but to find out we had the truck inspected and there were no brakes on one side of the truck. So they're using this road carelessly with non-properly operating equipment. And I showed him the sheet, there's stars beside people's names, I think it was 7. Those are us who have been ran off the road. Okay, more than one time. But the people who've lived there longer, they say it's constant. I've been there for 2 years and it's really bad. The last thing you wanna do is get that phone call from your kid and you see her car under a dump truck. Thank God she was in my car. And I think that this road is just too narrow, it needs to be widened. We need to get these big trucks that using us as a cut through, make them go the big road, Mount Cross to 58. Quit using our side road, the road our houses are on, to commute to 58. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else sign up?
No one else has signed up.
I close the public hearing at 7:41. Board's pleasure.
Chairman, I make a motion that we adopt Resolution 2020-02-02 supporting potential no-through truck restrictions on Silver Creek Road.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Scarce, seconded by Mr. Davis. Any discussion?
Chairman, I'd just like to reiterate what Ms. Atkins said. I travel Silver Creek a lot myself, and it is very dangerous. Two-way traffic, it's really narrow limits. To me, it's either we need to get this, put it on our agenda to get the road widened. I think in the future we may have some funds for that kind of potential, but I really think the amount of traffic that's on there, this is a critical issue, that safety issue we need to address. And like I said, I hope that VDOT will readdress. They've already done a preliminary investigation on this. I asked for them to do that probably 3-4 months ago. And they came back that it was not warranted, but I think with having the citizen input plus our resolution, that may have, they'll do a full-blown report and hopefully they'll come back with a better outcome. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Ingram?
Mr. Chairman, likewise with Mr. Scarce, I travel that road quite a bit, and I've almost been run out of the road, and I'm glad to hear your daughter's okay. I've gotten a similar phone call, not because of that road, but I feel your heart on that. And not only the individual residents you spoke of, we have Owens Farm there, which is constantly having tours of small children from our school system. So thank you so much for your efforts on this.
Anyone else? Please cast your votes. All votes have been cast. Please record the vote. Motion to turn it to VDOT has been approved unanimously. We're down to unfinished business, walkway of honor donation request. Mr. Farmer.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. Last month, we had the privilege of hearing Ms. French give us a presentation about what all this entails. So just as a quick reminder, there's a sentence I'd like to read. The citizens of Southside, Virginia answered the call to arms in World War II to ensure the freedoms that we enjoy today. Let's take this opportunity to come together to ensure their memory will have a lasting place at their state's war memorial. I would also like to highlight that the County of Halifax donated $5,000, the Town of South Boston donated $5,000, the Town of South Hill $5,000, and the Town of Halifax $1,000. I would like to make a motion that Pittsylvania County make a pledge of $5,000 using our contingency fund, Mr. Chairman.
Motion made by Mr. Farmer.
Second.
Who's second?
Second.
Me second.
Motion made by Mr. Farmer, seconded by Mr. Ingram. Any discussion on the motion?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I do make the statement that I have, my wife lost an uncle in Pearl Harbor, and I wasn't married at the time, and lo and behold, I walked across that monument and looked there in Hawaii, not knowing that my wife's uncle was in one of those boats entombed, or one of those ships. So I am fully for this. Thank you, Mr. Farmer, and thank you, Ms. French.
I'd like to make a comment also,
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman. I remember last month when the lady made her appeal for the support, and the other supervisors, almost to a man, made their comments. I did not make a comment last time, but I will make one tonight. My father also served in the Korean conflict, and I'm appreciative of that. And 3 of my 4 children have been military, so I also offer my support.
Anyone else? My father was career military, served in World War II and Vietnam, also conflicts. So I find the cause admirable. I do not have reservations about supporting it because I will support it personally also. However, I think we have to realize too, as a board, when we do this, we're probably going to be faced with other requests that will come as at us in the future. This is such a worthy cause and affects. I can't imagine a family in Pittsylvania County that's not affected by it. But I do want you all to realize that this potentially we will have others that come forward, and we're going to have to be careful about where we draw our line. So, but having been said of all that, thank you for all your hard work. We appreciate it very much. Please cast your votes. Please record a vote. Motion carries unanimously. New business, Mr. Smithman.
There's none here, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Appointments, CPMT alternate appointment, Ms. McCluster.
Yes, I spoke with Ms. Boswell. This is just a replacement. Mr. Donald Motley retired, and the sheriff is requesting Matthew Dawson to be his alternate on CPMT.
Board's pleasure.
So moved.
Dr. Miller makes the motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Davis. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, please cast your votes. All votes have been cast. Please record the vote. Motion carries on a 6-1. Appointment, Westover District Planning Commission. Mr. Scares.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to reappoint H.F. Haymore Jr. as the Westover District Representative for the County's Planning Commission for another 4-year term.
I'll second that.
Motion made by Mr. Scares, seconded by Mr. Dudley. Is there any discussion on the motion?
Chairman, I'd just like to say H.F. has done a fantastic job. We know his long experience with working with the county, and I asked him if he would serve another 4 years, and he gladly accepted the offer, and I'm happy that he's willing to serve another 4 years.
Thank you, Mr. Scares. Any other discussion? Yes, sir.
I've also served on the Planning Commission as the supervisor for Stanton River District. And now that I'm on Board of Supervisors, I've been shifted to Board of Supervisor rep, but I will say that he's done a fabulous job. And in fact, I think we just appointed him as vice chairman of the committee. He does a great job.
Thank
He
you.
likes to stick to the rules.
Anyone else?
I think it's a great selection.
Thank you, Mr. England.
Thank you, sir.
Anyone else? Okay, please cast your votes. Okay, all votes have been cast. Please record the vote. Motion carries unanimously. Matters from work session. Do we have any, Mr. Smithman, Mr. Hunt?
No, sir.
Okay. Board members' reports. We'll start with Dr. Miller this time.
No, sir. Just want to reemphasize once again, thank everybody and thank the board for the resolution. It was my good pleasure to serve, and I look forward to serving Pittsylvania County until I get to be an old human being. Older.
Mr. Davis.
Yes, sir. I do want to say that the trash vote and this last vote, I saw on my laptop, it was 7 unanimous vote. I don't know what's happening. I'm getting 7 unanimous vote, and you were getting 6-1 up there. I don't know what was happening on that. So anyway, I got 7 on everything unanimous all the way across the board. I don't know what's
No,
happening.
we had one no vote on it.
Okay, so anyway, and
On
then
the
second.
scale, on the scale.
That's right.
Scale, just on the scale part.
Okay, and anyway, I want to thank
I
our.
caught it on this one, I didn't catch it on this one because of that.
And I want to thank our staff for doing a great, phenomenal job. And I'm thankful for the Board of Supervisors we have in place. I think we're going places in the future. And it's going to require money. And it's just the way it works. And I'm glad for the great things that we've got coming, that we've been waiting on. And we're looking forward to that groundbreaking situation. Thank this Kalen and our IT department do a great job. And all of our news media that always covers it. And do a great job as far as certain articles that you put in there that educate the public, then sometimes it educates me. So I want to thank everybody for what they do and what they mean to us as supervisors to keep us informed. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. Mr. Scares.
Mr. Chairman, I just have a couple of things. One, our General Assembly is still dealing with a lot of bills in crossover. I urge everyone to make some phone calls. They're making some decisions that will affect our county, that will affect our economy, that will affect your taxes. I hope you'll reach out to your representatives and even those that are not, and let your voices be heard. Also, we have a Friends of NRA banquet on the 27th. If you haven't gotten your ticket, it's probably too late. I think we're sold out. All the pre-raffles are gone, and we're going to have a great time. So I'm sorry you missed out.
Mr. Dutt.
All right. I just want to thank everybody for coming out this evening. Appreciate the care enough to just at least figure out or find out what's going on in the community. You know, there's a lot of empty spaces, and there's a lot of people that could be here. I just want to thank you folks for just being here tonight. I got a good friend of mine that's on the back row, come in late, and I'm going to embarrass him, but it's okay. Richard Waters, he's lives right here in Chatham, and but thank you all for coming out. We're here to work for the county, and thank you again.
Mr. Ingram.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Likewise, I'd like to echo how grateful I am to see so many faces here, even those that we tend to disagree with, but that's what this beautiful democracy is all about. And I consider it an honor to be with you, and our staff is doing a fabulous job, and thank you all for that. News media, doing a good job, guys. Thank you.
Mr. Palmer.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. Last month, we asked staff to have our agenda packets prepared sooner. Since I've been on the board for the past 2 years, we typically get them on Fridays, and we asked for a Wednesday delivery, and that came through, and I just want to give a huge shout out to staff, especially Ms. McCluster, for all of her help.
That's right.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Farmer. Of course, I echo the sentiments from everyone else. I will say it one more time. NRA banquet's the 27th. I've had the pleasure of attending the last several. It's a good time, so if you didn't get a ticket, I'm sorry, but there's always next year. Don't miss out. Also want to thank Go Virginia and Danville Regional Foundation for a school grant that's totaling $9,431,833 for our technical center facilities, uplifts, robotics, IT, and cyber programming. And I want to thank our school division and the county for working together to push this forward and have a vision, not just looking at precision machine, but looking for the next thing and the next opportunities that will bring us economic development. And these funds are over a number of years, but they're coming through Go Virginia and from Danville Regional Foundation, which makes a big impact on our community for economic development. So we want to thank those folks. And last but not least, I want to congratulate my colleague on his 23 years of services on the Planning Commission. He did an outstanding job there, just like he does an outstanding job here on the Board of Supervisors. And I was talking with him, and his first appointment was from Mr. Pritchett, appointed him to that position. And then when Mr. Barksdale became supervisor, he reappointed Dr. Miller because he knew that he was a great leader and had outstanding qualities. So both of those gentlemen have endorsed Dr. Miller, and we're really happy that they did, because we might not have him now if they hadn't. And he does a super job, and he's always just steady and conscientious about his decisions. And I thought Mr. Davis did a nice job in summing it up, that he's, you can't say much better about a man than he's a Christian and prays about his decisions.
Amen.
You
That's
know,
right.
That's a great quality, and we're proud to serve with you, Dr. Miller. Thank you.
I am humbled, and I appreciate it. Thank you, Larry.
County Administrator's reports.
Yes, sir. Just a couple things to tag on to the brief comments by Mr. Scaris on legislative matters. I had the pleasure of being in Richmond with Mr. Chairman Warren, Vice Chairman Scaris, and Mr. Hunt. There are quite a few things going on that affect what we do in the county, and the board has been briefed on many of these, but some of these things have gone by the wayside. We are very concerned about Virginia's right-to-work status as a state. It is, in my opinion, one of the top 3 reasons people look at Virginia to relocate and expand their industry, and we're glad that bill has been defeated for this year. We were discouraged at the present status of the revising our solar regulations in Virginia. Currently, we are required to rebate about 80% of the taxes, or defer 80% of the taxes on these new utility scale solar installations, which basically takes away 80% of the revenue the county would expect to earn in those type transactions. We were advocating for more local control and authority over those decisions, as well as a sunsetting, a more quick sunsetting of the 20% or 80% discount. Unfortunately, the opposite has happened. The sunset has been stretched out to 2030 with a much more gradual step down of the incentives. Hopefully, when this crosses over to the House, it can make it to conference committee where we can make some better changes. Hopefully you saw the great article that Mr. Ayers did in the Danville paper over the weekend. And I think it is important that we remember that the beneficiary of our foregoing 80% of our tax rate is not us. It's for people that live in other places in Virginia. And there's a social justice element, in my opinion, that is being lost in this transaction, where the poorest areas of Virginia are incentivizing development for the richest areas of Virginia. And I think our legislators are completely missing that point. So hopefully we get another bite at that apple before they get out of Richmond. Another unfunded mandate coming our way is no excuse voting, where we are being required, if the bill passes, to open our polls for, I think, 45 days longer than we are used to, which will require more equipment and more staff. The estimated impact to us is around $100,000. I think it's in the $90,000 range. Tonight, the Board of Supervisors passed a resolution that stated that we will comply with the law, but only to the minimum extent. And this is directly related to the pittance of the reimbursement coming with this unfunded mandate. Right now, there's $5 million to be split among all localities, which, if distributed equally, as in Loudoun gets the same thing as Pittsylvania, which we know that won't happen, we would only get about $33,000, and we don't expect to get that much. So hopefully we can get that changed to where there's more recoupment of local effort in that bill. Finally, good news is the overwhelming approval of our 1% local sales tax to fund school capital. That would bring in about $2.6 to $2.8 million a year to Pittsylvania County, specifically earmarked to fund the capital needs of our schools. It's ironic that the plan that they have before us now, which is about $45 million of maintenance and repair, that 2.8 would almost exactly cover that indebtedness to do those projects. So we've passed the House. Delegate Marshall sponsored that bill, and hopefully it will be seen favorably also in the Senate. And come this November, if this Board of Supervisors decides to do so, it can place this 1% sales tax on the ballot for the November election. Finally, I just want to thank the board for the great day we had on January 31st with our strategic planning workshop. I thought we got a ton done. I was surprised that for 12 hours, not only we all stayed there, but we stayed engaged, and we're working until the very last minute at 9 p.m. We got a lot done. You exercised your opinions earlier this evening in consent, where you told us the things you wanted to accomplish over the next 2 years, and those are our marching orders, and we'll be working for you to accomplish your goals. But did want to thank you very much for that productive day together. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Hunt, do you have anything?
No, sir, I'm trying to get us out of here under an hour.
Meeting adjourned.